The All-American Otaku Show.
American Otaku Show. Today's episode starts off the new year. Sorry for the delay for this episode. There was nothing in December. I was dealing with an eye infection. So let's get started. This episode, like the end of the year, like I always like to do for the show, is doing a top 10. Top 10 anime, top 10 manga, top 10 to signify where our tastes has changed. Something's added, something's removed, something's put together. Sometimes things change. Something comes out, be like, okay, that was pretty awesome, so that's in my new top 10. Or something that you watched over again that was in your top 10, you look back and say, it probably wasn't as good as I remember. So for this, I like to reiterate the strength of the top 10, as well as create what the top 10 means from this year and the following year as anime and manga change. Thank you. Here is getting started on the anime top 10. Chainsaw Man. This anime involves with these devils who end up with certain people, giving people certain powers, and devils themselves, where the main character, who was so poor and owes a huge debt, he goes to the Yakuza and starts working with them to killing off devils for their parts. There he meets Pochia, a chainsaw devil that looks like a dog that he uses to fight off the devils and kills devils for money and parts, and as well as selling various different body parts, like he did his eye, well, probably his inner parts like the livers and stuff like that, just so he could survive. He is so meager in his aspirations that his one goal is to simply eat bread with butter on it or bread with jam on it. Then it moves on to another goal. He wants to touch a breast, or another goal that he wants to be good enough for the person who ends up adopting him and treats him like a pet, named Mokinia or something like this. This is on my top 10 because this anime may be gory at parts, but it has a really good story, good pacing, and it leads on to more and more action and more about this world and where this guy is. Though dark and bleak, it does show how things can get better, things can change, and sometimes you have to lower yourself to get stronger. I highly recommend this anime, but even though this is my 10th, the other 9 are equally more special for me. Thank you. Hello, my number 9th pick, Hell's Paradise. This anime is great and kind of went under the radar when it came out. It talks about the idea of what is heaven, what is the afterlife, what does it take to be immortal, and what is immortality. It starts off about the main character who was trying to get executed from trying to leave the ninja clan. There he meets a samurai executioner who's female, that are not generally samurai or wielding a sword. Most talked about how she should have gotten married, raised kids, and various other things of that sort. She was sent because they tried executing the main character various different ways, through oil, through burning, through trying to pull off limbs or what have you, and he kept on surviving. He survived the axe, he survived gas, he survived all these different ways, so they called her. He was an expert executioner because of her clan. Then she finds out he didn't really want to die. He finds ways to survive every form of execution they give. And eventually, he was giving a mayor plea or mayor's deal that he could live off with his wife. But then here's the catch: he has to go to an uncharted island that's supposed to have an immortal elixir and bring the immortal elixir back and give it to the shogun, and in turn he would get a pardon and as well as live his life in peace. This deal was taken to various other prisoners after prisoners after prisoner after prisoner, each trying to live with themselves with the crimes that they did, as well as the idea they have execution for one reason or another. To make sure they go through with it without just escaping, they were given each of the person an executioner to execute them if they don't go through it, or they try to take it themselves, or if they try to kill the executioner, another executioner will come and kill them in their place. As they reach this island, they realize this island is not as paradise as they originally thought. In fact, it's a living hell. You got bugs that could turn you to sprout flowers and sprout leaves, as well as beautiful setting, which may seem like heaven, but it wasn't. You have these big giant demon things coming after them, and eventually they have these immortal beings who want to drain them up for a life elixir, as well as take their essence away. There was no escape from this island. There is only punishment. So therefore, it's an idea of hell that looks like paradise. That concept speaks to me because sometimes the most beautiful things can be the most dangerous. And as humans, we are always manipulated by things that are pretty or things that seem like they're harmless or those things that are paradise, when in fact those things are only trying to bring you down. This is one of those animes I highly recommend to see. It's like it but slightly better than Chainsaw Man, but I do like Chainsaw Man as well as this. Please check this out. Next is my number 8. My number 8 pick for the top anime, in my opinion, is Kaiju number 8. This is in a world where there's lots of monsters living with humans, and monsters keep on invading and attacking humans. This created two types of jobs. One job to dispose of the kaiju, and the other job to exterminate the kaiju. So happened that the main character ends up getting hurt on one of those missions to clean up the kaiju. And as well as in the hospital, a little monster or kaiju came in, gone to his mouth and changed his DNA. Eventually, he becomes a kaiju himself, a human kaiju, a living, breathing monster and human. There him and his friend, he goes his friend to coming there to join the job to execute, to destroy other kaiju. Without letting people know that he's a kaiju himself. He wanted this job, and he's doing this job at a later age, in his late 30s, maybe early 40s, because he always wanted to fight alongside his childhood friend, not only to protect her, but also surpass her in defeating kaiju. Eventually, he uses his kaiju to help him save people there and various other things, but he doesn't usually use his powers. Without his powers being as old as he is, as out of shape as he is, leaves him on a very low attack level, like at 1%, while some people are at 80 or 70 or 60 or beyond. He learns how to defeat kaiju because he's seen various different kaiju from his cleanup, and then inspecting them through autopsies and various, so he knows how to defeat all these various different kaiju. He uses that knowledge to help fight other kaiju as well as help his fellow teammates. But eventually he uses his abilities in short spurts to help this person, to help this person. Then he realizes there's other human kaiju as well as other humans that he ends up being more attached to through his team and whatnot. There's a very particular funny scene when they were in the hot springs. They were showing off their muscles, the male people of the team, and he shows off his muscles like, "Whoa, you're packed for some of your age," and he let go, and his belly come out. Says, "What happened to the rest of you? Did your body said, oh, I'm going to get bigger?" As you know, as older you get, your metabolism slower and bigger you get. This anime shows the idea of age is never too late to do what you want or what you want to do with your life. Dream big, stay strong. Kaiju number 8 is a perfect anime because it has the idea of the monsters and the different people and different aspects of people's life. You have the female lead who wants to impress her father and become stronger and stronger and stronger to strengthen her family name. I highly recommend this anime. Here's my number 7. To my number 7, My Hero Academia. This anime is a world with heroes, a world with villains, a world with average day citizens. Most people have this thing called a quirk, an ability that makes them different than anyone else. Some have the ability of super speed, some have the ability to turn in liquid, some have the ability to look like animals or turn into animals, some have the ability to talk to animals, some have even the ability to take out balls from their head and stick it on things, some have the ability to manipulate gravity. Most people have a quirk of some sort, even if it is something like forming cameras all over your body. This is a story of this particular hero who started off with no quirk. Was told he will never be a hero and never reach his dream. He was told there was no way you could get better. Even from his mentor says, oh, without a quirk, you can never be a hero. But then, one fateful day, this liquid hero whopped around his friend called Bakugan, who ended up getting almost suffocated and causing explosions because his sweat is like napalm. He goes in there knowing he has no quirk to try to save the day. All Might seen the heart of this person, says, if you could be a hero and have a quirk, would you want one? Deku says yes. And therefore the training begins. He trains him by moving trash from the beach to try to get stronger to use his quirk. On his off time he would work out until he made himself stronger and worthy of this quirk. Eventually, he ends up with this quirk from All Might called All One for All. Eventually, with this quirk, he gets stronger and stronger. And unlike a lot of shonen heroes who are very powerful but lack the intelligence, lack the guile, they're more about getting results now. Deku, he outthinks his opponents, outthinks his situation, because he knows if he uses his quirk too much, it could break his bones. It could really hurt him, proving that the quirk that he has is too much for him. This leads him into confrontations with villains like Overhaul, who could rapidly accelerate people to that point where they explode. He could destroy and recreate. This leads him to meeting Mirio, a hero who could walk through walls, but has to get out of his clothes because his clothes can't go through walls with him. He meets Sue, a hero who has all the abilities of a frog. He meets Gravity, or Shuraka, who has the ability to control gravity. He keeps on getting stronger and stronger, and eventually he finds out the quirk, all One for All in him, the other users could pass their quirks to him. He keeps learning more and more techniques and learns more things. Just like Academia, where you learn to grow and get stronger, not just by lessons you go in class, but by situations and friends that you make. This is a story about accomplishment, even though so many people tell you can't. You too can be a hero. You too can be whatever your dream is for, if you're willing to work for it. This is why My Hero Academia is my number 7. Thank you. Hello everybody. This is my number 6th pick of best anime, in my opinion, of all time. This is the anime Demon Slayer. Same anime my friend Naomi decided to pick up on her first anime. This anime is about a world where there's demons and humans. Demons plague the humans. Demons feed on the humans. All for Muskubuji, who's the first demon who created all these demons through his blood. And more direct and pure the blood is, stronger the demon is. There's 10 ranks of demons, lower 10 and upper 5. Soon he wipes out the lower half and only has the upper 5, because the lower half were getting killed too easily and not really accomplish anything to try to gain up on the more ranks. And Muskubuji is all talked about trying to create for himself the ability to live in the sun, ability to withstand getting his head chopped off, various other things to try to make it so he could live forever. His whole goal is to live forever without any cost. This goes to our hero, Tanjiro. Tanjiro was just a simple pick her up and try and make charcoal and various other things like that to support his family. His mom, his dad, his sister Nezuko, and their other 2 brothers and sisters. On one faithful day, he was out picking wood and picking ways to coal or charcoal to go out. He comes back and he finds his family completely slaughtered. His sister Nezuko turned into a demon. No one knows how or how it happened. So he finds about Nezubuki is the father and creator of demons. His whole goal is to find a way to bring his sister back to a human again. That's when he decides to join the Demon Slayer Corps. At first, they were apprehensive because he's carrying a demon with him. But the demon ends up not really being a true demon of itself. This demon and human and love for his brother and sister really touched me. It's like the love for your family members despite what they have become. Seems like a very good and solid story. The idea that there's something out there in the night trying to stalk and get us leads to kind of the horror element. This demon slaying abilities with these swords, these special swords designed to kill demons, and as well as they have various different breathing techniques to there, whether it's fire breathing, sun breathing, moon breathing, bug breathing, beast breathing. He meets another person who joins his side who wears a pig head as part of his face. Then he's Zenitsu, who seems very weak and very scared all the time, but when he's asleep, he uses thunder wave technique and proves to be a very strong demon slayer in his own right, who is in love with Tanjiro's sister Nezuko. They meet the Bug Slayer, and various other Hashira, which are the highest ranking of Demon Slayer, except for the main major person who is dying from a mysterious illness. This, if you like an anime with layers upon layers upon layers of story, yes, there's some gory parts, yes, there's some fan service parts, but for the most part, this is an anime for you. It has some humor, has some despair, it has every aspect of a thing. Highly recommended. Here's my number 5. Everybody, this number 5 pick is Howl's Moving Castle. This is a Studio Ghibli movie that Studio Ghibli is a studio that is like Disney of Japan, which is ironic because the person who runs it, Hiro Miyazaki, can't stand Disney, and he's always getting compared to Disney. Howl's Moving Castle is in a world with magic and wonder in this town that's at a war over a missing prince. This starts off as the main character who sells hats and always occlusive and always seems old. And one day when she was out, soldiers were bothering her, and she was saved by a wizard named Hal. But before that, she was told that hell will steal a woman's heart, a pretty girl's heart. This led to her coming front with the Witch of the Waste, so much so she goes right to her hat shop. And when she was at her hat shop, the Witch of the Waste come there and turned her old, really old. Therefore, as her traveling, she goes from a walking stick and she meets a scarecrow that bounces around and has been enchanted himself. And then she meets this moving castle thing, goes inside where there's this kid who works for Hal and does all this shopping and whatnot for Hal. Well, her name Sophie, she meets this Calcifer, a fire demon, which is this fire thing, where she tames it to learn to cook bacon and various other things, up to Calcifer's not wanting to do that. This anime is very magical, very in depth, and very good detail as what is war, what's the cost of losing our magic, and what it takes for two people to fall in love that from different worlds. This anime is really deep and really great in the animation field. I highly recommend it. Here's my number 4 pick. This is my number 4 pick, Trigun. Trigun is about a gunslinger who doesn't kill people and is considered one of the best gunslingers in this world. His rumor is that he's this dangerous man and he destroys everything in his paths. This is the story of Trigun and Vash the Stampede, the trillion double dollar man. On the way, he meets someone named Wolfwood, who is a priest, traveling priest, who carries a cross gun. Also, he meets Millie, Millie and her partner. They're trying to find Vash because he's causing all this chaos. If he is, they're looking for Vash because they work for an insurance company. On the way, they meet these outlaws who try to come after him, try to kill him, or try to take over certain towns or what have you. Vash ends up interfering without killing him, just maiming or injuring him. Vash's main thing is this world is made of love and peace. There he meets his brother, whose name is Nails, who doesn't show the same sentiment as he does of not killing. This is a highly action-packed anime. It's what we call a modern western. Takes place in sci-fi times. Takes place in the future. In there is giant robot men. There is people with mechanical arms, trains that go very extremely fast. He not only does he not kill and tries to bring his philosophy, sometimes he even changes ideals of certain people, while others are trying to change his ideal of not killing because sometimes they believe one has to maybe kill. I highly recommend this one, and now we're getting into my number 3 pick. Thank you. Here is my number 3 pick, Cowboy Bebop. Another space western that takes place mostly in space as well as various other planets such as Mars, Jupiter's, so forth and so forth. The main character is Spike Spiegel. He is a not outlaw, he's a bounty hunter trying to catch various different bounties to try to make a living. In this anime, there's a thing called Hot Shots, which is a bounty hunter type show that tells you what's the biggest bounties, what bounties has been taken over, and things like that. Along the way, he meets Ein, a York Terrier, who ends up being a data dog who ends up could hack things through if you hook him up to a computer or something, he could hack through things and create things. This becomes useful in one episode where they find this cult leader that is trapped inside this machine world and bringing people into the sleep. There's also Faye Valentine, who ends up joining the team and end up dead due to medical bills and rising costs of medical bills because she was frozen for so long. And then there is also Jet Black, who was a former cop who quit the force because he found the force being too corrupt. They call him the dog because once he latches on something, he never lets go. And this is also goes into Ed, who is a hacker in his or her own right, who's kind of wacky, kind of wild, but Ed always looks for ways to fix certain things and fix as comic relief, but is very useful in the tool. I highly recommend this anime. Here's my number 2 pick. This is my number 2 pick for my top 10. Number 2 is Ghost in the Shell. This is anime designed to make you think, what is truly human? Is it human to be physically flesh and blood? Or could there be something more to humanity? Humans could project in this anime, humans could put their brains and project themselves with cybernetic augmentation to become more robot than human. But this also does the question is, what's the spirit within? What's the soul? If the soul is in a machine that is mostly mechanical, does that mean this person is still human, or is this a product? This anime raises the questions as, how do we deal with hackers, and is hackers could be a crime against humanity or a crime against someone's product? The idea of what makes us stronger is a more enhancement, and especially in this time of the world where internet and AI become more of a thing, it still deludes the question, what is human? What truly is human? And what makes a human what they are? This anime dives into the idea of, how do you police there? The main character is Major Kusanagi, who is a police officer, and sort of speak to raise those questions and capture or destroy rogue robots and rogue humans. I highly recommend this anime. Here's my final pick, number 1 pick. Thank you. And finally, this is my number 1 pick. Akira. The idea of a world with corruption, gangs roaming the street, militarized police force, psychic powers. The idea that this world can end up being corrupted with the inside. The idea that the world could implode and destroy itself. This anime follows Kaneda, who is a street gang, bicycle gang leader who fights these other bike gangs called the Clowns. Him and his friends fight these things, and they find out what this world truly is when one of them gets captured, named Tetsuo, who gets all these experiments put on him to the point where he can't really think of on his mind what is real and what is not. He gets into the power from a previously thought of weak kid to the idea he is now powerful and more strong, which shows to the point absolute power corrupts absolutely. This goes into more detail of what is right to do and what is right to explore, and get us to the idea of closer to what God is through telekinesis and power. All the search from this being called Akira, who was this ultimate being and once enveloped the world in energy and destroyed it. The idea even expresses the idea of, what if you take something like an amoeba and give him the powers or abilities to think of a human? would consume and destroy. This leads to the psychic kids who were other experiments but tried to fight and tried to reshape the world. This ultimately ends in the climax of Canada versus Tetsuo in an epic battle between right and wrong, good and bad, battle of ideals, an idea which most wars and everything else is ingrained. Thank you. Now here's Mr. Pat on his manga top 10.
Doing top 10 for this year, starting this year. And, as tradition that we've been doing from the previous years, here we go. So this time I'm actually putting it in order. Last time I went with no order, but I figured, here we go. So in the top 10, I still have to put in a final word about this. Because this is my top 10, it's what I all like. So starting now, I have one called Lying Barrel of Iron. This one I like because Mecha. Everyone knows this. I like Mecha. It stars this character named Koichi that he started a really meager life and was bullied for a lot of his life. And when they pushed him over this edge, he fell onto this machine that impaled him. And you think that'd be the end of it, but that's the beginning of the manga. So he, in that case, the nanomachines of this mecha, which is called Lime Barrel, hence the name, brought him back to life. Okay, so next on to number 9. Number 9. I chose Claymore. This one is, I probably said it before with you guys, but it's a dark fantasy with big sword gals, big swords, yippee. And stars Claire in her quest to kill all Yoma, which is what Japanese call it, but I think they're pretty much demons themselves. So, next one, number 8. I have John called, excuse me for butchering the names as usual, Zeta Karen Children, or as English put it, Psychic Children. I like this one, and I think I told you about this one before. They are 3 top espers of their field, and they're really like one is really good with psychokinesis, and they're like the top of their field, but they're starting out as growing up as kids, so they had a rough start from them. And the other one has like teleportation, while the other one is psychokinesis. And then there's one guy that is kind of has a really good mind, and he can't forget anything, so he ends up being in charge of them, but he treats them more like humans than just espers. Okay, so number 7, this one I have not talked about in their name. I think it's a German name. It's called Ubuwat. Um, Another dark fantasy. Uh, it's about half human, half fairy. His name is Quenzel, and he's out for revenge for the so-called seven heroes, which he has a beef with, and it's in a tale of him, killing them bit by bit. Each of these people thinking they're safe, and they're really not. Okay, number 6. Future Diaries. I've talked about this one, but I like this. That's Unigasai, which she's Yandere, classic Yandere, and Yuki Yamano, which those two are kind of romantically involved, and being Yandere, it's a really huge stretch about that. And he's the last man standing, and I really like this one. Next one, I think number 5. Certain Magical Index. I like this one because it has magic and espers, and the main hero himself has this power that negates all these effects of magics or espers oriented supernatural aspects, and the problem with it is he negates all luck too, so he gets hurt quite a bit with his quote going, all this rotten luck. Number 4. I have this one. I'm pretty sure I talked about this one. Skip a Beat. I like this one. It's kind of a little bit of a revenge, but not quite. Yuki. Sorry, butchering names here. And it starts the main heroine that Yoko. Yes, sorry, names. And her revenge kind of starts out, on her ex-boyfriend, and her being an actress. She pursues her initial career of being an actress herself to, rub it in his face. And I like this one. It's pretty ongoing, and her personality kind of a lot of character development between the the two romance guys. The first one being the one she hates, and the one not so much she hates. Okay, so we're on to number 3. Battle Angel Attila. I like this one. This is the future dystopia kind of thing. And Aliyah herself is kind of amnesiac at the beginning, because all she's existing is, she's a cyborg, and half of her body is gone, and the only thing that's existing is her head. And the whole aspect is that her brain is pretty unique, that she apparently survived pretty up to the stratosphere level and her brain is has like some kind of gel that stops her from, getting super damaged. And herself, she has a martial arts that it's called Panzerkunst in that German. Excuse the German stuff here, and she's really good at this cybernetic martial arts. Number 2, Kaiju. Kaiju number 8. I like this one because, well, we've talked it a lot, and I like the, big giant monsters fighting and duking it out. It's the main hero himself is not. He starts out pretty low as the cleaner, in which you never really think when you're fighting monsters who's cleaning it, but they really show it. And he ends up getting the creature jumps in his mouth, and he becomes which essentially a kaiju that will fight other kaiju, and they don't know for a while, but they eventually do know that he's that it's him. And the first one, drum roll, is my favorite, solo level. This one is ongoing in anime, and manga is actually already done. It's basically a character starts from really low level of doing the weakest as it can be, and in the process of his evolution of becoming stronger, he ends up actually dying in this main labyrinth that everyone else left him behind. So when he came back, he actually had a new chart that appeared, and it told him what he needed to do, otherwise he'd be penalized. Well, as the story progresses, he goes into this evolution thing, which is called, he becomes a necromancer, but it even puts him more as he finally finishes that one level that he becomes called a shadowmancer, and that's when he can bring things back from the dead, which are still dead, but they become his servants. So it's basically about him once he gets a little more OP, his progression into the actual story of it. And that's the completion of my top 10. This is Mr. Pat. Happy New Year's, and this is signing off.
Welcome to the show where anime dreams come alive. Let's go! All American Otaku vivified, diving deep into the anime tide. From the screen to the page, we're turning every stage. All American Otaku, their worlds collide. From the 90s till now, the passion's been real. Anime and manga, it's how we feel. Conventions and scenes, cooking up dreams. Japanese culture bursting at the seams. From the 90s till now, the passion's been real. Anime and manga, it's how we feel. Conventions and scenes, cooking up dreams. Japanese culture bursting at the seams. All American Otaku vivified, diving deep into the anime tide. From the screen to the page, we're turning every stage. All American Otaku, their worlds collide. I'm there and Mr. Pat by my side, exploring every genre, let's take that ride. From action to drama, it's all here. Community strong, let's make it clear. Otaku dreams, we're chasing the light, exploring new stories every day.